Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chief Chat. First, we would definitely like to start our program by offering our deep condolences here at WDHT TV, as well as Chief Lee Gavin and Chief David Brogan, to the family of State Representative Julie Plawecki, her husband, Judge Mark Plawecki, and their family. Julie was a beautiful person inside and out and serviced our community to the best of her ability. She will be missed, and it is a great loss for our community and certainly for her family. Our deep condolences. Gentlemen, would you like to add anything to that?
Just, I worked with Julie a lot in the state as our state rep, and she was very thorough. Me and Chief Brogan, in the fall, we always help them with a volunteer raking of the lawns for the seniors, and Julie participates in that. So we had a good working relationship, and our condolences go out to her family and her husband, Judge Plawecki, who has served our city for a long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know September 11th, she invited me to go sit on the floor with her up in Lansing, and went out with my wife, and her and my wife really hit it off well, and she's just such a nice woman, and our thoughts are really with the family. I can't imagine what they're going through. Such a shock for someone so young and fit and in shape, and just always such a happy person. Just terrible shame.
Absolutely, it's a great loss to everyone, her family, our community, her representation in Lansing. Someone very very vibrant and had so much to offer and so much to do. So our condolences, and may she rest in peace. So there's so many things going on in Dearborn Heights, and we always talk about July 4th, such a wonderful holiday, something to always celebrate, and but we always have the issues that we seem to deal with, and the tragedies sometimes that come forth from trying to have a good time. So what are we doing this year?
Well, obviously the fireworks are back again. And just like the first year, it's been really dry. We've had very, very little rain, and it doesn't sound like a big deal.
I know, my grass is brown.
Yeah, there's
like
a lot of brown grass
out
there, and so if we continue to have the amount of fireworks that we've seen with this dry grass, we're going to have
inevitable.
people. Their lawns are going to burn up, and we'll hope it doesn't spread beyond that. But even like the foliage in like a gutter or something, if you have a gutter that's overfull with a bunch of dry, and where before it might go out a ember or a stray firework, now that might ignite, and so we could see an increase in problems.
Too.
Yeah, we're really hoping we don't, and we're really hoping everyone's very responsible in their use of fireworks, but the potential is certainly there.
And we had talked about this last year, that there was going to be some legislation that was going to hopefully maybe negate the more, I want to say, quote unquote, for lack of a better word, professional fireworks that the community can get their hands on. But I don't think that happened, did it? I mean, no, it's still the same.
The consumer grade fireworks is what were these larger fireworks that they used to have to drive out of state to get. There, some states would sell them.
They're readily available.
Now they're readily available. They're everywhere, and I think there's just this perception that people think they're safe. They think that they're legal all the time too, and through our ordinance, they aren't legal all the time. It's the day before, the day of, and the day after a holiday like July 4th. So it would be the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and only until midnight. After midnight, they're not allowed anymore. But as we all know, it's these weeks leading up to it, people are already using fireworks, and there's just so many, and they're so freely available, and they're just, it's a powerful explosive. The entire design of a firework is like everything that goes against everything I've spent my career doing. Is people can be burned, people can be injured, fires can start. Those are the things that I've worked so hard to try to prevent happening.
And so those are what people are actually playing with.
Right, and then they drink on top of it, and so that's just another twist to it. Just to have a minor playing with a firework, or people mixing alcohol and fireworks, it's just such a dangerous combination, and I really hope that when we make it through the year without any major incidents.
Absolutely, and your life can change completely just from one incident. Rex Roth from Channel 4 lost his eye, and it's a continuous reminder of fireworks safety and what have you. But people do it after midnight. So what do we do? I mean, how do we make sure that, you know, people understand after midnight, no more fireworks? My dog, my poor Coco, I mean, he goes crazy. But what do we do with that?
So yeah, after midnights, we ask our residents to give us a call. Hopefully, the majority of the fireworks will be already set off by that time. If you call 8, 9, 10 o'clock when they first start, we have so many calls, so many runs. For us to show up to each run, it'll take us half the night to get caught up.
But it is legal until midnight.
It's legal up until midnight. But we have to remember too, it's legal to ignite them on your property. They have to go up and come down on your property. The chances of that occurring are very slim. They go up, they're going to come down anywhere. You cannot ignite them on school property, on city property, church property, county property, anything. So it's got to be your property.
So no parks?
No parks.
Unless it's, you know,
yeah, unless it's
organized.
authorized and, you know, permit. So again, no drinking. You know, that can be an offense if someone's intoxicated. You have to have a water supply nearby. So technically, if you're lighting them off, you better have the hose within a few feet. And those are just some of the regulations, and there's more. But you know, we have so many seniors in the city, and they're so fearful.
Sure.
You were talking about your dog. So many of our seniors contact me, hey, Chief, what do we do? You know, my dog's afraid, my dog's hiding. So try to take into consideration for our older people. And then we talked earlier about the amount of debris. You know, you could create a fire.
Absolutely.
But we get calls the next day when there's damage to people's homes. You know, it might light a roof shingle on fire. People's car, all that debris comes down, and if a hot ash, people get their car damaged, or if not damaged, debris up and down the sidewalks, the streets. And then our elderly people are out there, they want to keep their property up. They're out there sweeping and cleaning all that stuff up. So, take consideration of your neighbors. And
absolutely,
it's legal to ignite them. So if you're going to do them, use caution. Make sure you're prepared with your water, no drinking, and
be prepared to get a citation after midnight.
After midnight, definitely. If we get a call and we can determine who's lighting them, we will write a appearance ticket, mandatory court appearance, and the fine could be up to $500, and that is at the discretion of the judge.
Great. Chief, what advice would you give to our viewers who have young children who want to play with the fireworks? And I remember when I was a kid, I used to love the sparkles and what have you. But what major advice would you give to stay safe and to make sure that if you're going to do these, commercial grade fireworks or what have you that unfortunately are legal now, what steps do you take and how do you make sure that everyone's safe, kids, elders, and the individuals that are using them, other than don't drink and firework, right. I guess.
Don't drink would be number one. Actually, if you were to look this up at NFPA is like a lot of our standards, and so you try to find this information on there, and they don't provide it because they say there is no safe way to use fireworks. That they don't want you using fireworks. They think if you want to see fireworks, these are explosives, go to a professional show where people that have training and experience and they know what they're doing. That's the best way. I realize that that's not how it's all going to happen, and so just be sure that you're reading all the directions. You have ideally you're going to have a garden hose or something nearby to put out a fire if it does occur. Not that a fire could occur several houses down.
Right,
That's one of the problems. And kids are kept back. You try to do just one at a time. But again, we recommend. Go to a professional show and watch the fireworks there.
Makes sense.
Even sparklers can burn up to 2,000 degrees, and so there's a lot of children that are injured by sparklers because a lot of times we give them to toddlers and they're running around. Well, that's a flaming hot stick that they've got in their hand, and even the sparks coming off them can cause burns. But usually it's they might drop the stick when it's out, or step on one, and you could
barefoot, yeah.
Or a toddler might grab it, as it's burning, or as soon as it goes out, might grab it because it's hot.
I think the ambiance of 4th of July make some people forget this is actually stuff that can cause some harm and damage,
that's
physical
exactly
damage.
what the problem is, and so we just recommend go to the professional show. If you're using this, understand that you're using a very dangerous object and treat it that way.
What do you say to the, I have to call him a kook, who actually puts the thing in the mouth and lights it and waits for it to go off?
Someone was killed in Detroit last year doing that, and people are killed every year doing things like that. Most of the time, alcohol is a factor in that decision-making process. But anyone can, feeling a little crazy or whatever, and try something funny they think might be funny, or they pick them up and they shoot them at each other. Kids will do that, and just these really aren't toys, and they're treated like toys. And I think there's some kind of expectation of safety, like, well, they wouldn't give this to me if it was really that dangerous, and they are.
Absolutely.
And I hope after discussing it today, that next year when we're sitting here doing a show before July 4th, we're not reviewing the issues that will come up this weekend.
Right. So, talking about someone who lost their house or was seriously injured by fireworks. So hopefully that won't be the case.
It's you wake up the next morning and the city looks like a war zone. There is more debris and bottle rockets and paper all over the city. So again, I know everybody wants to have fun, but like Chief Dave said, go to an organized fireworks display put on by a city or organization. It's cheaper and a lot more safer.
Absolutely, absolutely. And clean up after.
Clean up.
After yourself too. We
Go
should all be
next
cleaning
door
up
to
after
our
ourselves.
elderly residents, and you had your fun there. Go and clean up their yard so they don't have to do it.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. We were talking earlier too about traffic safety, which has been quite an issue, not only in our community but in many other communities. And you were telling us a little bit about some hit and runs, and really the responsibility of the individual that is involved in something like that. And I think sometimes out of fear, people don't know what to do, and they just leave the scene of a crime, which I think definitely compounds the issue. So what is your advice, and how are these things handled, and what are we looking at within our city in regards to hit and runs?
We've seen on the news lately a rash of hit and run accidents where people have been killed or seriously injured and the driving party drives away. Majority of these accidents, the driver cannot see the bicyclist, the pedestrian, whoever, and they strike them. Once the investigation, we get done with it, usually that person is in the right, because they didn't, nobody goes around purposely trying to run people over. At night, we get older, our vision isn't as good.
Sure.
Glare, you strike somebody. The law says you stop. If you stop and investigation works its way out, usually you're cleared. If you take off, even if you're justified in the accident, you take off, you're leaving the scene of a serious injury or a fatal accident. It's a crime, and you very well could serve a few years in jail. That would be up to the judge. But we ask our residents at any accident, not a serious one, not just a serious one, but even a fender bender at a main intersection, say Ford Road and Telegraph, stop, make sure both parties are okay, exchange information. I recommend writing a police report, then you have it on file. A lot of these accidents, one party will say, hey, I'll contact you and get back with you tomorrow. Contact is never made, and we've got one party coming to the police station wanting to write a report. Then it makes it confusing because we've got one side of the story, we have to contact the other. It's best, if you're gonna write a police report while both parties are present, give us a call or come into our police station. We'll write a report, then it'll be up to you if you want to make an insurance claim or not. But backing up to the fatal or the serious accidents, just make sure you stop at the scene. Stop, try to render aid. Our fire department, along with our police department, is there within minutes, and to do what we can do to help the person that was struck.
What about traffic safety in general in Dearborn Heights? Have you seen an increase in issues more on a maybe a normal level, or is it more in the summer? How do you evaluate our traffic issues in Dearborn
Definitely,
Heights?
we see an increase with the warmer weather,
Sure.
be spring and summer.
Is it a normal increase, or are you seeing like
you see a bigger increase, a steady increase. You see naturally more accidents, but you see in our residential areas, up and down our side streets, our residents, they don't stop at the stop signs. Nobody's there. If it's a 3-way or 4-way, you stop, you roll through it. You know what? One day there could be a kid or older person walking. So make it a habit. Your vehicle's supposed to come to a complete stop, look both ways, then proceed on. Still with our red lights. The law says with our lights is on a yellow light, you're allowed to clear an intersection, but you can't enter an intersection. So if you're going down the street and it turns yellow, you have to stop. If you proceed into the intersection on a yellow light, you could get a violation. So again, the law says if you're in the intersection and a light turns yellow, you have a right to clear the intersection. A lot of people are trying to time it, and a light's going to turn yellow, and they say, hey, I can make it, but still you're entering the intersection. And that causes a lot of accidents. You see, we have a lot of accidents in our city, up and down Ford Road, up and down Van Born, our main thoroughfares.
Sure.
So,
what about turning left on a yellow light? Let's clear it up right now.
So
Can you turn left on a yellow light?
On a yellow light, when you're in an intersection, the law says, again, you're allowed to clear the intersection. You can't enter. But when you're making that...
behind you can't turn if you've turned on a yellow light.
If you turn down a yellow, then, if he's in there waiting and he's got time, he can clear the intersection.
Okay.
But again, you have to wait for oncoming traffic. So
Sure.
they have the right of way. If you turn on a yellow, you have to make sure they're clearing.
The
If
intersection,
they enter and it's a
absolutely.
red light, they're at fault. But it's kind of tricky. Just when you're making a left turn, make sure all traffic stop and then complete your turn.
Well, that road rage is also an issue, and I think that's escalating to heights that I don't think we've ever seen before. There's a YouTube video not too long ago of a woman, I guess, got out of her car, and I don't even remember where, and she was banging on the door. Actually, grabbed the person out, and this was all caught on video, and so this was just because somebody honk their horn. So how do we address that as a community? Because I see it here in Dearborn Heights too. You see the middle finger go up, or somebody's scream, and you know what they're screaming in their car.
Yep.
I don't think we've really had major issues where somebody's been pulled out of their car in Dearborn Heights. What I haven't heard, but is that an issue that we have here, or is our residents pretty cool under the collar when somebody cuts them off accidentally?
We have traffic offenses, road rage, that occurs all over. In the summer, either everyone's windows are down, or it's so hot and everyone's windows are up and you don't see or hear what's going on. But your best bet is avoidance. If someone next to you at a red light is giving you a hard time because of a traffic altercation, just avoid them.
Yeah.
Continue on your flow. It's not worth preventing that person. A lot of people have guns and, like you said earlier,
Right.
do stupid things, threaten you. It's not worth it. We all drive. We all inadvertently change a lane and maybe cut someone off. A lot of times it's not done purposely, and the other person thinks it was done purposely and they get all upset. It's not worth to get aggravated, agitated. We'll get a lot. They'll call us, hey, there's a guy driving down Ford Road in and out of traffic. If a citizens call us and there's a police car in the area, we'll catch up with them. We'll write them a violation. There's no need for our residents to get in a traffic altercation. And we've seen over the course of time where people get out of their cars, you get into a fight, a physical altercation, sometimes someone gets hurt or gunshot. It's not worth it. Just continue driving and avoid that person that's being aggressive towards you.
And I think that is wonderful advice, especially for our younger drivers, because I see they're a little bit more hot under the collar than the normal, middle-aged
They're going to
kind of
show
driver.
that old guy next to him that I'm the boss.
Yeah, and they can't get away with that.
And it's not worth it.
No, and it usually just compounds itself
Yep.
into more trouble, and they usually get their license taken away. So hopefully our younger kids out there driving can take that
advice
Advice
to heart
and just
and
chalk
just
it up
let it go
as,
and
yeah,
keep
as
going.
a day on the road and forget it.
Right, and you'll never see this person again.
Never
You
see
don't
them
know
again,
who they
most
are,
likely,
so
right.
you know it's better just to let it go. And I've seen that quite a bit. Chief, we were talking earlier too about the bonfires again that are coming up, but garages and people maybe sometimes cooking in the garage and what have you, and that has caused some issues within the city. So talk to us about the do's and don'ts, and what is not allowed in terms of ordinances as well within garages.
Yeah, we've had several cooking fires in garages, which isn't something we used to get very frequently, but it's happening more and more and more often. So sometimes people have a barbecue outside, and then they push the barbecue back in the garage and close the door. Actually, we just had one of those a couple weeks ago, and then they go inside to eat, and in this case, all of a sudden the power went out. Why'd the power go out? Well, their garage was on fire and it burned through the drop, and so this kind of thing
funny,
happens.
but
Right.
Accidents happen.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
they do.
And a lot of times you might get away with it once or twice and get away with it, and then you start to get more careless and maybe position it slightly differently, and eventually that'll catch up with you. And just cooking, sometimes people, if they're going to like fry fish or French fries or cook with
Sure.
oil, they don't want to do it in their kitchen where it might stink up the house a little bit.
Sure, I've done that on the grill before.
Yeah, or some people have some even stovetops set up in their garage, and they will go out and cook with a stovetop in their garage. So they'll have them hooked up to a propane bottle like a regular stove and just use the range part.
Now, is that okay? That's acceptable.
We
to
don't
do that.
we don't want people. We want everything to be attended. We can't necessarily tell them. Ordinance may be able to, but as far as the fire department, we can't enforce any rules in residential areas. That'll be up to Jack McIntyre in the ordinance department. But if you're going to cook in your garage, just be sure, just like anything else, people usually not eating in their garage. They'll cook it there and then they'll take it into their kitchen, and that's when it will catch on fire. So we have that on a very regular basis, in the summer months especially. So just be extremely cautious and make sure everything is turned off and cool, and you have lids, and cooking fire in general, you always want to be sure you have a lid where if something catches on.
Right, you're able to.
Yeah, but turn the burner off, put something on top of it. Please don't try to pick it up, and this is a guy thing, and this happens all the time. Actually, I think we talked about it not long ago, and right afterwards it happened, where the grease caught on fire. The guy says, I want this just out of the house, and they pick it up, try to carry it out of the house, and spilled the grease all over himself. His wife tried to pour water on it while he's running with it, and grease splashed all over her, so they both had second-degree burns. Their kitchen was already smoked up, and they threw the grease outside, and they thought, well, we saved the house. Well, you still have a lot of damage in here, and now you guys are burned, and it's not worth it.
So what would you do with a grease fire?
Turn the burner off, and a lot of times
Baking
they're on the
soda.
front. If it's on the back, obviously don't reach over the fire, but take a lid and put it on top of it. That's the first step. And if you don't have a lid, take like a cookie sheet and put it on top of it, and that should put down the fire enough where you could turn off the burner. If you need to slide it, maybe slide it off of the burner.
Fire.
Yeah. But don't try to pick it up and move it. Don't try to put it in your sink, and certainly don't pour water onto it. You're better off with to have a
Maybe
extinguisher
baking
of some
soda
sort.
or an extinguisher?
Yeah, baking soda will work, but a fire extinguisher, you should have one handy somewhere near your kitchen where you can use it
A
for
working
that
one.
exact. A working one.
I don't
Yes.
think mine works.
Yes.
Yes, a working one.
And that's just it could go from a minor inconvenience to a massive problem where you're out of your house for 6 months as you get your house redone because of something that's simple. And it's easy to get distracted. Another tip is, like, you pick up one of your cooking utensils. If you're going to leave the room, or take a timer, take something with you, and when you leave the room, carry it.
So you can remember to come back.
Why do I have a spoon in my hand? Why is my kitchen on fire? No, so it might remind you to go back in there. Oh yeah, I've got that stuff cooking in there. So, it's little tips.
My son Alex reminds me all the time. I mean, I'm not a gourmet cook by any means, and when I'm in the kitchen, everybody's eyes are on me because I seem to just have that situation. I mean, when I'm doing bread, just putting bread in the oven it will literally catch on fire. And
right.
so my husband, my son would come home some days and say, "Hey, Mom,
So what'd you burn tonight? Rather than what's for dinner
right.
tonight, what'd you burn tonight? So I know how easily those things
Yeah,
can
and just
happen,
don't
you
panic
just have
too.
to
That's
be
probably
prepared.
another.
Absolutely.
When you see a fire, like when there's a fire that's not supposed to be in your house,
Right.
it's very alarming. And if you're in panic mode, you're not going to make good decisions. Just take a second, calm down. You got a little bit before this is going to really spread, and try to make some calm, rational moves, and then you can handle the fire without getting hurt.
Right.
And as we know, our firemen are awesome cooks. They're always cooking, so Dave's talking firsthand experience here.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Just while we're talking about fires real quick, in our south end, we've had some of our parks we were discussing earlier, how everything is so dry. And we've had some fires started by the youths later at night with the leaves and that stuff. So I know the fire department's been out there a few times, but just again, we were talking about the fireworks. With everything being so dry and doesn't sound like any rain in the forecast, just be careful out there.
Sure, absolutely, especially to our youngsters, doing that. You have we've got just a few more minutes, and I wanted to go over some of this stuff. You have the second annual Power Sports raffle. I bought a couple of tickets. I'm
That's right. Thank you very much. Yeah, all this is for our charity
and
fund.
it's during the annual chili cook-off too.
Yep, this is our 24th chili cook-off. Will be August 27th. So it's a little bit later this year. We do it in timing with this money. A lot of it goes to a burn camp where children who are burned, they get together at this special camp, and it's put on by Great Lakes Burn Camp. It's really a great charity because when kids have these burns, they really need support and to be around one another, other people who have had the burns, not just the physical pain, but there's a lot of emotional scarring that goes with it. And so they have counselors, they have firemen, they have a lot of other kids there, and it's just it's a great event for kids that have suffered through that injury. And along with that, you'll see in front of our stations right now, we have some of these ATVs, yep, from Rosenau Power Sports, and so you would win $5,000 towards the purchase of one of those at Rosenau Power Sports.
Oh,
and there's also, or you could there's a cash option, and there's a couple other prizes too. So we only sell 800 tickets, and so your odds are, well,
not bad,
yeah,
not bad,
not terrible.
absolutely. So this is Saturday, August 27th, between 4 and 6 p.m. at 6500 Parkland in Dearborn Heights.
That's Parkland Park. Yep.
Parkland Park, okay, and that is exactly, where is Parkland Park?
It's off Ann Arbor Trail,
Okay.
and the road is Parkland, but it's not too far from Outer Drive.
Okay.
Between Outer Drive and Everett.
August 27th, that sounds fun. I want to definitely be
the
there.
Chili Cook-Off is a great event. There's just so many things going on for kids. We have lots of raffles, and get a chance to spray the fire hose.
And you actually make chili.
There's lots of chili there. Yep.
Sounds good. Really quick, this 5K 1 mile fun run family walk as well.
Well,
Love
the
to
chief
run.
is planning on winning this event. We're working with the Rotary Club.
You're going to sprint.
Like Dave says, we're working with the Rotary Club, and we'll have a little bit more information as summer progresses here, but it's going to be September 17th down in Hines, Helms Haven. It's going to be a family event, either a mile walk or a 5K run.
Sounds like fun. Sounds like fun. Well, a lot of good things happening here for the summertime in Dearborn Heights. Let's hope it happens in a safe, responsible way. Thank you, Chief, so much for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you all. And please be safe out there. Happy 4th of July, and enjoy your summer.